What does his text mean?
So frustrating.
Maybe he's just not that into me.
No, she really likes
I've
me.
always been bad
How
at
can I get her
flirting.
attention?
I'm ready for
I just
marriage.
want somebody to share my life.
Is this relationship
going anywhere?
Modern Love Made Simple. This is Dates and Mates with Damona Hoffman.
Hello, lovers, and welcome to Dates and Mates. I'm your host, certified dating coach Damona Hoffman. I don't know if you're aware, but the seasons are turning. I'm not talking about fall. I'm talking about cuffing season. Cuffing season is upon us. If you don't know what cuffing season is, you're going to want to stay tuned to the show to find out what it is and how you can survive it. I have an amazing guest who will be joining me in just a little bit, Dominique Clark, and she's going to give you the lowdown on how to cuff the right way this cuffing season. I'm in studio here with producer Leah, who's ready to hit the headlines with me.
Hi, guys.
Hey, oh, she brought her sexy voice today. Did you guys hear that? She was like, hi, guys. Let's see if you can keep it up while we do the headlines. We'll tell you one girl's brilliant way to find out what her dates really think about her. Plus, we'll talk about Kaylee Cuoco, who has the surprising secret to a happy relationship. And we'll ask, are you guilty of sneating? It sounds like a Dr. Seuss book.
That's exactly what I thought about, too.
Sneating.
Yeah.
I've been reading a lot of Dr. Seuss books, obviously. I have two small kids. But you might be guilty of sneating. We'll tell you the signs, the symptoms, and how you can get help if you are yourself a sneater. Then we'll be answering your questions, including, is it normal to have commitment issues? And when should you post pictures of your partner on social media? Somebody's feeling a little bit butthurt today.
Yeah, pretty butthurt.
in the social media sphere. So if this topic is relatable to you, you're going to want to stay tuned for that. And I have a big personal reveal coming up at the end of the show, and along with an exercise that you can do at home. So let's dive in with the dish.
Dee's dating dish.
Survey says you're an a-hole. Yeah, there's a girl named Katie Miller who has a survey that just took Twitter by storm. It's a survey of people that she's dated. She was frustrated with getting ghosted and having guys that seemed like they were into her that didn't really stick with her for the long haul.
Yeah.
So she said, well, what better way to get insight on my audience than to survey them? She created, it looks like a Google form kind of survey.
I love this survey.
You love this survey.
Yeah.
So she sends this to guys after the date, and it asks some very probing questions. And it starts out, what's wrong with Katie? Because obviously it didn't work out. So she wants to know what's wrong with her. And then what's wrong with you. What's wrong with Katie? What's wrong with you? Yeah. And then she legitimately is looking for ways that she can improve her dating life.
Yeah.
So she's like asking for tips of what she could have done to make the experience better for the guy.
You see the one where she was like, would you refer Katie to a friend? If so, please list numbers here.
And she had some yeses. Like there also was a screenshot of some of the responses. Yeah. Like one of the guys was like, what could I have done better? You could have given me a shoulder massage. Like, on a first date, honey, no.
That's
honey,
wild.
no.
Too much.
But I think this is a good way. I don't know if I would send the survey out. That's a little bit much.
Maybe just like a personal text message, or what do you think?
But I think it's good if we can get feedback, because how else can we learn? How else can we grow? And maybe not every single date, but especially if there's someone that you feel like you had a connection. We've all had those dates where you go 3 dates, 4 dates, 5 dates, and then it fizzles out.
Right.
And it's like, was it just not a connection, or is there something to be? Yeah, is there something to be learned for it? So I say, good for you, Katie, and having the self-awareness and the humility to be able to ask for feedback, and she's received some responses.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I think it's a really cool little like survey and really creative.
Very creative.
Yeah.
Not everyone has responded to it, but let me know what you think. Would you ever send a dating survey? Have you ever sent a dating survey or follow-up email?
I have not. Have you?
No. All right. Let me know, folks at home, if that's something that you would do. And speaking of things you should do in a relationship, Kaylee Cuoco, who you know from Big Bang Theory, who I discovered makes a ton of money.
Yeah, she makes a lot of money, like $900 grand per episode.
Almost $1 million per episode. Get down, girl. Go ahead, get down. She told Women's Health some tips for a successful relationship. And she knows this because she's had an unsuccessful relationship that she's learned from. She was previously married to tennis player Ryan Speeding, and they split in 2016 after 21 months. Little bit of a messy divorce.
Super ugly, and he asked for a lot in alimony or spousal support.
I mean, wouldn't you? Yeah. She makes $1 million an episode. You got to pay up. Seriously. But there were some good tips in this and some that are debatable. So I'll tell you what Kaylee says. She says, number one, you're never going to have a successful relationship until you're happy with yourself. Truth.
Yeah.
Number two, if you're with someone only because you feel you can't support yourself without them, then maybe you should move on.
Right. I liked the part where she said, it's something like, if Carl left me tomorrow, I'd be fine.
Okay, so that we've rapidly accelerated to the debatable point. So she actually said, I just want to give a direct quote to everyone. She's actually said, I don't need Carl for anything. This is her man now. I don't need Carl for anything. If Carl left me tomorrow, I'd be fine. And he knows that, and he would be fine too. And that to me felt like a step too far.
Too far? Really?
Because you shouldn't be two totally independent people in a relationship, because then what is the point of the relationship? If you're just fine, if your partner leaves, then maybe you shouldn't be partnered at all. There should be some impact of your partner leaving, even if it's not a financial impact. And I think that's what she was trying to say.
Probably.
Financially, she's okay and she's taking care of herself, which she should do.
And her son, right? They have a son together.
Yes, but
yeah, maybe like the words were a little
untethered.
Too strong, but I thought that was like a really good point to make, that like you need to maintain your independence while you're in a relationship.
That part I can vouch for.
Yeah.
But you should have enough of a connection where you would be somewhat disappointed, at least.
If they left.
If they left, not just fine. Would you be disappointed, though, producer Leah, if you went on a date? I know you're in a relationship, but if you went on a date and you thought the date was going well and you paid for everything and then never heard from them again?
I feel like that's just a risk you have to take when you're dating.
What if that person strategically did that to every date? Okay, this is the concept of sneating, which I hadn't actually heard about. I love giving you guys new terminology so that you're up to speed on the dating lingo. This was a new one for me, but it actually broke in January on Metro UK. The definition of sneating is basically it's sneakily chatting someone up solely for the purposes of a free meal. So sneaky eating, sneating. Sneaky eating, sneating. Are you a sneater? Are you a sneater?
Okay. I mean, I feel like we've all done that thing where like the date kind of went disappointingly. So you just let them pay for drinks or like let them pay for dinner and just like left. I feel like that's okay.
But then a lot of people will insist on splitting because they want to send the message that this is not something that's going to be going forward.
That's true. I just feel like if somebody's going to insist on paying, and if like in that there's New York Post story, she said that the date was kind of just not what she expected. Like he looked 10 years older than his pictures. Then I feel like that's a moment where she could just like let him pay and walk away and never have to like see them again.
That's a sneak situation.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's break this down, because I think there's a difference between going on a date, which in a way is an exchange. You ask me on a date, we are exchanging my time and my energy for you to buy me dinner. Fine. There's a different level, though, that's happening. Like in the in the Metro UK article from earlier this year, this guy went out with a girl who had 4 drinks, ordered an expensive appetizer,
lobster,
and 2 entrees, not just 1 entree, but 2 entrees, and barely said a word to him. he said it was one word answers.
Yeah.
So that to me is not an even exchange if
Oh,
you're
no,
not
totally.
really giving. So what did he do? He goes to the bathroom and then he like splashed some water on his face and said, "What am I doing here?" and left.
Like a movie, so dramatic.
Yeah. I had to amp it up. I don't think it played out like that. But just imagine it. We're doing the movie script now. And just left the restaurant, left her with that expensive bill that she had run up. Because I think if you would not be okay paying for it yourself, you shouldn't be ordering that.
Oh, totally.
And I'm not saying just go and, have, like somebody said, I really miss fruits and vegetables, so I order a salad. I'm not saying you have to eat a salad every time, but just be mindful of the fact, like go into it thinking you might end up paying for this or for at least half of this.
Oh, yeah.
And be okay with that. But I don't see anything wrong with letting the guy pay. I feel like now we've kind of flipped all the way in the other direction. And it's like, no, now we have to go Dutch all the time. It's okay. It is an exchange as long as it's an even exchange. And if you're building a relationship, you're both contributing and sometimes you pay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I always offer to go Dutch, but you're right. If it's an even exchange then of people's time, then like it's totally fine to let them pay.
And it's friendly.
Yeah.
Like even when I go out to dinner with my friends, sometimes I'll pick up the check, sometimes they pick up the check because we like each other. And it's also saying we're going to see each other again at some point.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to see them again, then maybe you shouldn't be sneeding.
Yeah. So what do you have to say to people who want to avoid sneeders?
Well, screening is really important. And knowing that you actually have something in common. Because I think the biggest sneeders are the people that look really great on the dating app.
Yeah.
And have lots of dating options and that seem preoccupied. Like the girl in the New York Post said she doesn't even go out with them if they look like they can't afford it or they seem like they can't afford it.
That's wild.
So if first of all, if you're putting all of your money out there for people to judge on a dating app, and she can tell that you have money from the dating app, and then you go whining and dining her on the first date, then maybe you deserve to be sneeded.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Keep it simple on the first date. Just go for a drink or a cup of coffee or a hike or a ice cream.
Yeah.
Something chill. And then you won't be at risk of having to face a bill like the guy did. Okay, those are the headlines. We are going to be discussing cuffing season with Dominique Clark in just a little bit. Plus, I have a big reveal for you, and I have an exercise for you to try at the end of the show, so please stick around. With cuffing season upon us, I know you want to nest and relax for the winter, but y'all, swimsuit season will be here before we even know it, and you can't just give up right now. I know when the weather gets cold, you don't want to go through the drama of getting your coat on, getting to the gym. So why not work out at home or at work or anywhere that you'd like with Beachbody On Demand? Fans of Dates and Mates can get a 14-day free trial on the annual Beachbody memberships at datesandmates.com. You can stream all of Beachbody's fitness programs, get all the nutritional guides, 21-day fix, PiYo, Insanity, Size, T25, P90X. You've heard of all of these programs, and you can try them all for free for 14 days. So don't let cuffing season take away all that hard work that you put in this summer. The Beachbody On Demand system is completely risk-free for 2 weeks, and it's available to you anytime, day or night, so you can't complain that you don't have the time to work out. They're short workouts. You can do it on your schedule. Just go to datesandmates.com and click the Beachbody banner at the bottom of the page to get started. We are back, and I am here with my guest, Dominique Clark. She's a relationship guru, an author, and a media personality. You may know her from her previous radio show, No Strings Attached, which I appeared on a few months ago. And she's also written a book called She's Valuable, But Does She Know It? Dominique's a successful matchmaker, and she's helped so many singles find love. And I'm so excited that she's here to share her wisdom on cuffing season and so much more. Please give big smooches to Dominique Clark. Welcome to the show, Dominique. We've switched sides. We switched sides.
We did.
Yeah, because before I was on your show, now you're on my show. And so now I'm going to pick your brain for dating and relationship advice.
I love it.
So let's begin with cuffing season. That is the topic of today's show. I'll read the Urban Dictionary definition. During the fall and winter months, people who would normally rather be single or promiscuous find themselves, along with the rest of the world, desiring to be cuffed or tied down by a serious relationship. The cold weather and prolonged indoor activity causes singles to become lonely and desperate to be cuffed. Okay, so that's the Urban Dictionary definition. But do you see, you've been matchmaking and coaching singles for a long time. Do you see a change in the pattern of dating in the fall? Do you see more people coming to you saying, please, Dominique Clark, set me up. I need a relationship right now?
Yeah, it's the busiest season of the year for me. It's when I make the most money,
Hey.
to be honest with you. Yeah, and especially not even just women, but men too. Research has shown that men also participate, in cuffing season. They're not the only ones. Women aren't the only people looking to be coupled. And so, yeah, people are knocking on my door.
Wait, guys are looking for relationships? I seem to hear from women. They're like, oh, no guys want to settle down. You're seeing that guys do look for those
It's not
real
they're
relationships.
looking for a relationship. They're looking for a cuffing buddy, right? And whatever you want to, however you want to define that. But they're looking for someone to be coupled with during the winter months, right? Not necessarily something that is long-term. Their intentions may not be beyond Valentine's Day, but during this season, they are looking for someone to spend their time with.
Is it just laziness because it's cold and you don't want to go out and start hunting for somebody? So it would just be easier to sit on the couch and watch Netflix and chill.
It's convenience is what it is. It's convenient.
It is convenient. But I think there is also something, I feel like we seem to operate without looking at our biological conditioning. And biologically speaking, this is a time when you would need to have somebody to help you get through the colder, darker months, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want temporary relationships this season. So we want to get uncuffed from those people that are not looking for something more serious. How can you spot the difference between somebody who's just looking for a hookup, a sneeder like we were talking about? How can we look for a sneeder and pick them out and say, no, not you. I want to be with somebody that's really going to, invest in a relationship with me.
Yeah, I think when you're able, when you know what you want and you're able to communicate that effectively to someone and they respond positively to that, then it's someone that, hey, they may want to stick around, beyond just this season. But I think a lot of times, we don't really know what we want. And so we don't communicate it, or we have a fear of communicating even when we do know, because maybe we think the other person is not ready for that, or maybe it won't be reciprocated. But I think that if you know what you want and you're fearless in communicating that and they're okay for it, they're like, okay, I'm here with it, I'm here for this, then, that's definitely a sure sign that this is someone who's not just wanting to participate in cuffing season, but there may be some potential, beyond that. And like I said before, we make convenience okay during cuffing season. We don't want to be alone. And we're reminded by the fact that this is the holiday season, holiday after holiday, family gathering after family gathering. And I think that we're reminded more than any time of the year that this is the most important time of the year for human connection, where we want that, where we want to express love. And it's much easier, more convenient to do that and experience that season when you have somebody there with you.
Well, let's talk. I want to talk about quality of dates, because I think there are a lot of people listening who are like, yes, this is speaking to me and I'm looking for someone right now, but they're in what I call snack relationships, where, they really want a meal, but, that bag of popcorn looks okay, and a little bit of peanuts and a little bit, well, not a little bit of peanuts, but, like some chips, and then they're full when the meal comes. How can people level up in a relationship and seek out a more high quality mate for them?
It really has nothing to do with the other person as much as it does about them. I think one of the things that I'm constantly having to drill into my clients is that the importance of empowering themselves, right? keeping themselves motivated to stay in the game and being optimistic. I think that when you lack that and when you lack belief, that's when settling starts creeping in, right? When you no longer believe that the real deal is going to happen for me. So I'm never going to find a good guy. So I'm just going to take this convenient thing or somebody that I would really deem okay and not someone that would be my ideal mate. I will entertain that guy now. So really start empowering yourself and motivating yourself to stay focused on the prize, the real deal, and not be distracted by the foolery. Develop self-confidence. I think at a time where we got social media and all these crazy ideals of what beauty is and what men are looking for, being confident in you is really sexy. Being confident in you and developing your self-confidence will really attract someone who can appreciate that and value it. And then you won't feel like you have to put on to keep a guy, right?
That's such an important thing to say.
Yeah.
You don't have to become somebody else to be lovable.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. I want to hear the last point.
I didn't hear you.
Go on. I want to hear this last point.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then, to kind of piggyback off that, I have this saying where, honesty, perfection is overrated and honesty is the new black. I think that we are trying to be someone that we're not. And if we just get real with who we are and allow someone into that space, be vulnerable, exposing parts of ourselves that maybe, may be uncomfortable, but necessary in really developing a genuine connection with someone, I think we'll find that we'll level up in the type of people that we meet. It's really about us being confident in who we are, empowering ourselves on our dating journey to stay positive and optimistic about the results, and being real and honest about who we are and what we want, and not being afraid to communicate it to the opposite sex.
That's a definite quotable. Perfection is overrated and honesty is the new black. I had to write that down. Let's pick apart. We talked about perfection being overrated, but I want to pick apart that second part. Honesty is the new black. And a lot of times people ask me, well, what do I reveal on a date? What do I say to them in a text? How do I let them know that I'm interested without coming on too strong? How do you really define that honesty piece? And when should people reveal, those deeper details about themselves?
Yeah. I think when we get out of our mind that there is this 10-step process to dating success. And if we just allow ourselves just to be, it will take away some of the anxiety and when should I say this and when should I do that? If we just allow ourselves to be who we are and naturally progress along the way with someone by asking the questions as they come up inside of us. Like if you have a question about something or if you want to share something about yourself, like, hey, I really didn't like when you did that, but I wanted to share it with you so that it doesn't prevent issues in our, getting to know each other down the road, then say it. I think we're so afraid to just be and be honest and share how we feel that it's actually preventing us from connecting with people in a genuine way. And so there's not a 10-step process. It's just about honoring your gut feeling and when you feel comfortable, when you feel ready to share. If it feels right in the moment, do it. If it doesn't, don't.
What are your feelings on texting though, Dominique? Is I do see a lot of people sharing quite a lot over text before they even get to the date.
Yeah, I hate texting. And I hate that it's this new wave of communicating with each other, especially when you're talking about dating. I think in the getting to know you process, you cannot get to know someone via text. And it's really easy to hide behind and make up something really nice to say via text message, as opposed to when you're face to face with someone. I even encourage my clients to do FaceTime before they meet someone because I think when you're having, especially honest dialogue or discussing important topics to you, it's important to see that person, read their body language, hear, and see how they would naturally respond to something without having 10 to 15 minutes to think about and curate a great answer, right? To keep you in the game. I think it's important to be in front of someone and read them and feel their energy. And so I'm not a big fan of text messaging. I think it really prevents you from getting to know someone in a real way. And I think people hide behind it, and I don't think people use it. I don't know. I don't like it. So tell them, it's okay to start texting, especially if you're meeting someone online, right? Of course, you're going to start with texting each other and emailing each other back and forth. But sooner than later, pick up the phone. Tell them, hey, I would really love to hear your voice today. Are you available to speak? And start having phone conversations. Then if you're distant, because I match people all over the world, and sometimes, I might match someone from Florida and New York, let's FaceTime, or Skype, let's see each other and still try to get to know each other in that way and see each other and be present with each other before we can even meet. And so I hate texting. I don't recommend it. I only say text if it's absolutely necessary, like I'm running late or, I'm at work, but I'm thinking about you, those type of things. But in terms of having dialogue, no.
I'm with you. I say texting is for information, not conversation. I've had to in the early stage, like before you get to the date, because I do find that people, they take this honesty thing a little too far and they reveal things that they wouldn't otherwise say if they were with that person. But you brought up an interesting trend also that I see happening with online dating and dating apps is long distance relationships. You as a matchmaker often create those relationships. What are the tips that you give people if they're meeting someone that is that far away? How can you set them up for success on the first date and beyond?
So the first thing is really prioritize consistency. Okay, and develop a consistency in terms of communication. We all know communicating is important, and especially when you have long distance. So there should be some level of expectation. Like, we have our, every night or, every other night we plan to talk to each other on the phone or FaceTime or, text during the day, but have some consistency in your communication and then have a plan of action. If you've met someone online and or someone distant and it's going well, you guys really enjoy spending time with each other, have a plan to when we're going to have an expiration to the distance, right? All right, so we really like doing this thing. It's feeling good. Is there flexibility on your end to maybe move or vice versa? But start creating plans so that the distance is no longer an issue. Because at the end of the day, you can always get another job. You can always get another nice house. You can always make a great life for yourself in a new city. But what's most important out of all of that is having someone, an amazing life partner that you could spend your life with. So being consistent in your communication, having a plan about how this is going to work, and then even establishing an expiration date, and just being present and honest with each other how you're feeling throughout the way. Like, hey, you know what? I know we plan to see each other next month, but I'm kind of really wanting to be around you. How do you feel about getting together this weekend? And just being honest about how you feel and where you're at throughout the course of your distant relationship.
Okay, that is a great setup for our first question, because we are going to be talking about long distance dating and relationships as we move into our questions from listeners and technically dating.
Technically dating.
All right, you ready, Dominique?
I am ready.
Okay, this comes to us from a listener on Twitter who DM'd me. By the way, anybody, anywhere, you can DM me your question at Damona Hoffman. You can also email me, damona@damonahoffman.com. Basically, any way you could get to me, go to datesandmates.com. You can email me. You can send me a message. You can send me smoke signals. I would love to answer your questions. So, this lady wants to remain anonymous because she's dealing with some stuff, Dominique. She says, I'm currently in a long-distance, long-term relationship. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost a year and a half. And a year ago, I took a job overseas. I had to take this job because of my finances, and I did it for him and I, so I wouldn't have to be taken care of in this relationship. I decided to surprise him and come home for a week in September. When I told him about the surprise, he panicked. So I knew he was hiding something. We were supposed to move in with each other when my contract was up in October. Then I found out from someone else that he signed a lease for an apartment behind my back. He lied to me and he bailed on me. I broke up with him, sent a friend to pick up all of my things from his house, and I did not see him when I was home. However, we've been talking on the phone and texting a little, and we both agreed that we didn't want to fight anymore. Where do I go with this man who is 35 and clearly has commitment problems? I am now coming home at the end of December. Should I try to rebuild? Or should I not contact him and leave the ball in his court? Moreover, is this normal for people to hate surprises? So that's the question. I think the question is, moreover, is this normal for you to have an expectation in a relationship and to have it be completely obliterated by this person that you've invested in and you think is on the same page as you? So what can you say to our anonymous friend from Twitter about how to get her relationship back on track, or how to know if it's time to walk away?
Yeah, so that was definitely a loaded question there. But here's the thing that I will say, I'll start off with, love is unconditional, but relationships are conditional. If I am going to be in a relationship with you, there are going to be some conditions. There's going to be a level of expectation that not only I have for you, but you should have for me, right? In order for this relationship to work. And so, yes, there should be expectations, and then we should both be in a place, if we want to be there and have the will and desire to be with each other, that we should honor. And I think what happens in situations like this, when people fall apart, it's because there's some lack of agreement. So before she went to wherever she went to work, there was not any agreement. There was a lack of agreement in terms of what was going to happen, or just lack of communication in terms of what was going to happen and how the relationship was going to sustain itself during that time period. Because of that, you see what has happened. He's gone and done other things behind her back. He hasn't held up to his end of the bargain in terms of whatever expectations they've set up. And now they're in a position, which I hate. She's asking, is this normal? Should I try to, rebuild the relationship? No, we have to empower ourselves, or realize that we have the power to choose the type of relationship experiences that we want to have. We don't have to just deal with whatever's being dealt to us, right? And so now that he's ready to possibly get things back on track, no, I feel like he's messed up that opportunity. And I think that he really severed the trust there. And so because they're not married, I'm like, no, girl, go about your business. Find somebody else, who's going to honor the expectations that you have for a relationship.
You make a really good point there. And just to go back, because I do have the question right in front of me, they did have an agreement, it sounds like, to move into together. And he broke that agreement and went behind her back and signed a different lease without her. So it seems like, first of all, with long distance relationships, those are very hard. And she started out saying that this was a long-term relationship, but for a 1.5 year relationship, she's been out of the country for a full year. So what I see is that they're still really getting to know each other, and you can build a relationship, but the rubber really hits the road when you are together in the same place. So I think her relationship really hasn't had a chance to blossom. They have to deal with accountability, like you said. Yes. You had an agreement, and he did not honor that agreement. And I think there is a conversation that could be had as to why did you not honor this agreement, because this is what I expected. But I don't think you should be moving in together with someone that you've only been dating for 6 months. There's like this feeling, I'll get to know you better if we move in together. And I think we're undermining the complexity of relationships and living with someone. But I think there's a conversation. I would say before you walk away, my thought would be just have a conversation and see if there's a road to the future, but don't force it. And like you said, just keep tabs on the fact that this guy did break a major agreement with you. And you can give second chances, but third chances are something that don't happen. They don't happen in my book. Okay. Yours either. I could tell that from you, girl. So second question, Dominique Clark. This person asks, do you believe in private relationships on social media? I'm talking about when the relationship becomes official and serious. I feel if my partner can post the names and pictures of their kids, other family members, close friends, co-workers, kind of car they drive, what their house looks like, then they darn well better post me too. If that's a problem, then I'm going to think that they have something to hide, especially if my partner won't acknowledge that they're in a relationship because they're private all of a sudden. I'm the type to let the world know who my woman is with no shame. And if we break up, I'll just delete the pics. No big deal. Smiley face. This is a man who uses a lot of emojis. I skipped. There were some other emojis within that. But, it sounds like he's looking to be claimed on social media, and she's posting about everything else. She's not posting about him. Is that a problem?
I think we all place our value in different places. Some people look at social media as a great place to share their love story. And, if they choose to do that, and that's great. And other people feel like, no, I don't want to do that. And, I remember, I don't know if you remember that interview with Taraji P. Henson. I think she was on the Steve Harvey show. And she was saying, like, no, I don't put my personal dating life out there, and I'm not just walking on every red carpet with everybody that I'm dating at the moment. I'm going to reserve that for the person that I'm married, the person that has put a ring on my finger. And now you've actually seen her do that. She's engaged, and you see her with pictures and her significant other all the time. So, people have different reasons for why social media may or may not be the place that they want to share their love. But I will say this. If it's just a simple, hey, I just want to be acknowledged, posting them every now and then shouldn't hurt anything. And it could make you raise an eyebrow and say, well, why can't you just share me just like you're sharing other parts of your life, for sure. But I think it takes knowing your spouse, knowing them and why, they may have reservations of doing that. And if he's really just like, hey, I just don't want to share that part of my life, or she is saying, I really just don't want to share that part of my life, maybe until it's something more official, then, you just got to respect that.
Mm-hmm. I think they do need to communicate about this, because I would say there is not something wrong with not sharing your partner. Like, there was a great example, the Taraji example is an excellent reason why. Yeah. You don't want everybody talking about your business before you've even figured your business out.
Exactly.
But
what if it doesn't work?
Exactly.
And then now you've got everybody in your space and figuring out who the next person you're going to be with, where that's a pressure or just criticism that you don't even have to deal with until you know it's someone that you're going to be with long term.
Yes, but I do feel that there's an issue that he's not feeling seen in this relationship. He's not feeling honored. And that, I feel like, is the bigger conversation. And it has to start with an open-ended question of, I've noticed you post a lot of pictures of other parts of your life, but you've never mentioned me on social media. Is this like a personal belief of yours, or is there another reason I should know that you don't want to share about me? Because I'm happy to share about you. And then just listen, right? And see, and maybe he might find something out that he didn't realize about her, or he might just find, like you said, that she doesn't want to expose that part of her life. I'll say from my own experience, for those that do follow me on social, I don't post a lot of pictures of my husband or my kids. And I've had so many people that are like, why don't you post more? And my husband is a really private person, and he's in a somewhat public field, and he doesn't want pictures of our kids out there. He doesn't want all of our business out there. Every once in a while you'll see one in my stories, but it's a conscious choice to keep that private. And I think people expect, you probably experience the same thing, Dominique, as someone that's in the love business. People are like, why don't you have pictures of your husband everywhere? And it's like, well, that's my stuff, but I want to help you with dating, right?
And I think we also have to be careful with the flip side of that, because one of the things that I've seen happen with some of my clients is that they have been made to feel that the reason why they are, having issues with the fact that their spouse is not claiming them or showing pictures of them on social media is because they're insecure. And so you have to be careful that you're not being manipulated into thinking that, the reason why you feel this way is because you're insecure. And it may not have anything to do with your insecurities. It could just be, like you said, maybe he just wants to feel, honored and a part of her life just like everyone else, And so just be careful with that. The flip side of that you're not being forced to be, or you're not being manipulated into thinking that it's your insecurities or some other reason, if in fact it's not.
What an excellent point. Okay, I have one last question before I let you go, Dominique. This is a simple one, and I don't know if you have a rule for it. I know there's a lot of rules out there. On which date do you typically have sex? Not you specifically, but your clients, right? Yeah. On which date, Dominique, do you recommend, making it official?
Yeah. So the Jesus in me, because Jesus is my best friend, if you didn't know, I'd say wait until you know that there is a long-term commitment there. But
you didn't say marriage. You didn't say marriage. You said long-term commitment.
Yeah, because I can't say marriage because I didn't wait until marriage, right? And so I'm not going to be a hypocrite.
Good girl. Good girl.
I definitely sleeping with my husband before I said I do. So, but until there's a long-term commitment. But the reality is you have to honor how you feel. If you feel ready in that moment, then who am I to say you need to wait 90 days? If you feel like this is something you want to engage in. But on the other side of that, understand what you're getting yourself into and be responsible, right? And don't have any hard expectations associated with that if you decide to give it up on date 3, because it's only date 3. And you don't really know this person well enough to know if this is someone you're going to be with beyond this moment. And so if you're going to do it, be okay with the choice that you've made, honor your feelings and how ready you are in that moment, and be okay with, like I said, what's going to happen as a result of that. And don't put any hard expectations on that person to live up to something that they may not be ready to just because you guys engage sexually.
Great point. Yes. And definitely use protection. I feel like I end up saying that on every show, but it's worth saying.
It's relevant.
It's totally relevant. Thank you so much for being here. Dominique Clark, you are amazing. And you have so much more for the listeners on your website at dominiqueclark.com. And you're also on all the social medias at dclark and Co. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. I know there's so much more that you can share on your website and through social. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
But the show still goes on. I have more for you. I promised you a big reveal and an exercise that I would share with you. So I did a talk this weekend. I'm getting a little nervous, producer Leah. I'm getting it's getting hot and I'm getting hot and bothered because I have a big reveal about myself coming up.
But it's exciting.
It's exciting and it's to help you. And I did a talk this weekend for the first time on this topic. So I'm going to share some excerpts of it with you. And the talk is called Swipe with Spirit. So when I was 12, I had a dream, not like in the Martin Luther King Jr. sense, but an actual dream. And that was the year that I received my first deck of tarot cards. And I was spending every spare moment at the local metaphysical store, having caught my first hit of the power of intuition and the relationship between our thoughts and the physical world. So I was reading this book on how to program yourself to remember your dreams, and it shared that messages could be given to you more easily while your mind was soft and suggestible during sleep. The practice recommends keeping a dream journal by your bed, and you're instructed to write your burning question on the paper right before bed and allow the answer to then come to you while you sleep. So being a 12-year-old girl, there was only one question that mattered, of course. Dear Dream Journal, who am I going to marry? Though the details of the dream are a little fuzzy today, I still vividly remember being at a house in the country, and I went out to the well for water because, of course, that's what you do in a house in the country. Right, producer Leah?
Right.
I don't know if you lived in a country house.
No, I live in Austin, but
I lived in Michigan. There was no country house, but I pulled up this bucket for water, and I knew that there was going to be a message for me inside, and inside of it was a name, Seth. Seth, I wondered, remembering the question I'd posed before bed. I'm going to marry Seth? It was ridiculous because I only knew Seth Parver, and he was awkward and gangly, and he had big ears and little teeth, and I could think of a million reasons why I would never marry Seth Parver. So when I woke up, I totally swore this off as absolute crap, and I wiped the dream from my mind completely. Now, fast forward 12 years later, I was deep into online dating. A lot of you know my story on that. And I was on a second date with this nice guy I met online. I brought him back to my apartment. Okay, I know, don't judge me. I did not sleep with him that night, okay? My roommate met him on his way out of the apartment that night, and she looked me in the eye and she said, you know, he's the one. And I was like, how do you know he's the one? How could she possibly know that he was the one? I barely even knew him. All I basically knew at this point was that he was from New York, he was a writer, and his name was Seth. Yeah, so you all know that years later I did marry Seth. And yes, I had received this message about who I would marry over a decade before. And yes, my roommate was right. He was the one. So all this time, Spirit had been guiding my path, though I was blind to the signs back then. Oh, and speaking of signs, I really want you to look for the signals and synchronicities. when you look for synchronicities, this is occurrences that are repetition that is meaningful in some way. When you look for the synchronicity, you'll find that the signs are all around you. So what is that thing that always seems to show up the moment you're questioning your path? What is that number that has repeated at significant times in your life? Or that song that you always hear right before things are about to change? Which symbols and signals and signs are repeated? So it's time for the big reveal. You know that I'm a certified dating coach. What you don't know is that I'm also a certified psychic medium. So starting today, I am making it my mission to teach people how to use intuition to guide them through their love lives in a way that I couldn't when I was single. So I'm going to share now my dating app method, which I call swiping with spirit. And you know, there are over 600 million daters online today, and most people spend less than a second looking at a picture before they decide to swipe left or right, and usually left to the no. But it's no mistake that people are also, it's no surprise that people are also swiping based on looks and initial attraction. And everyone tells me that they're looking for this thing called chemistry. But I tell you, chemistry is a liar. And if you're looking for long-term love, if you swipe based on chemistry, you will lose out in the long run every time. Because the qualities that you need in a long-term partner cannot be revealed by what they say in a dating profile or what they reveal to you on a first date. Because they won't reveal them to you. But their soul might. So what if instead of swiping for soulful brown eyes and a cute butt, you instead check in with their soul? We all have the power of intuition. We all have had an experience where we listened to that little voice that spoke up inside when the facts pointed the other way. So next time you're swiping, tune in to what that little voice says and trust it. So many clients come to me and say, well, my gut told me this date would be a waste of time, but he seemed like a nice guy, or I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, or he has a great job, but then they come back days, weeks, or months later disappointed because it didn't turn out the way they wanted, or mad that they wasted their time. And time is your most precious resource. You're not going to get any more of it. So who you spend your time with on a date really does matter. I could have done a whole segment today, as you know, on how to flirt over text or how to wear the right thing on a date or how to make a great first impression. But none of those skills are as important as tuning into the most powerful tool in your body, your intuition. So now I have an exercise for you. If you're not driving, you can close your eyes. And I want you to visualize your ideal relationship, not just the mate you're looking to meet, but how does that relationship feel? How does that person complement your life? Where would you go together? How would this person integrate with your family? Would you create a family together? What kind of home have you created? How does this person help you learn and grow? And how do you enhance this person's life? Really see it. Really feel it. And let that feeling linger a moment and just relish in the dream of your ideal relationship. If your eyes are closed, you can open them again and just sit for a second, letting that image, that vision merge with the current moment. So when I'm coaching, I even have my clients write this ideal vision of their relationship as a narrative on paper of what a day in the life of their perfect relationship would be like. And I recommend you try this exercise before you go on a date, or especially before you open your app and start swiping. And instead of looking for that nebulous idea of chemistry, look for that feeling that you just had to be repeated. Use your clairsentience. That's that little compass that you have in your gut that says yes or no. Let that tell you which way to swipe. Open up to the symbols and synchronicities that have been trying to show themselves to you all along, and they may pop up in their dating profile. And listen for that voice in your head that's trying to protect you from heartbreak or guide you towards the greatest, deepest love of your life. Because when you swipe with spirit, you always swipe right. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. That's it for episode 233 of Dates and Mates. I hope you will join my community, take part in the free monthly coaching calls, get your free e-course at datesandmates.com. And while you're there, if you want to shape up a little bit, click on the Beachbody banner and get started on your fitness program. And please subscribe to the show so you get the episodes the minute that they post on Mondays. And make sure you tell a friend if there's a message in today's show that you think that they need to hear. Thank you so much, producer Leah.
Thank you.
For doing the headlines. Yeah, you're going to be doing the headlines more with us. And also big thanks to Dominique Clark, who is my guest today. You can find her contact info in the show notes today. She's also at dominiqueclark.com. We will see you next week. Until then, I wish you happy dating.